process of being able to make sure that kids are safe is really fundamentally part of our No Child Without program. Hi, I'm Leslie McGill. I'm President and CEO of MedicAlert, and I'm here with my brand new friend, Julie Cole from Mabel's Labels.
Hello, yes, and I'm Julie Cole, co-founder of Mabel's Labels, and I'm a mom of 6. And
holy cow, congratulations.
Thank you. And my eldest child has autism, so we are going to be talking about Autism Awareness Day.
So tell me a little bit about your son's story. Son, right?
Yep.
So
Number one son.
Number one son.
His name's Matt. He got his diagnosis when he had just turned 3.
Okay.
And we had noticed some behaviors, but he already had 2 little sisters. So we thought, oh, maybe there's just a few like little delays or little behavioral things going on because we packed those kids in so tight. But then it got to the point where I'm like, we need to look at this a little more carefully. So I put together a team, and he did receive his autism diagnosis then at 3.3 years old. And at that point went very hard with a lot of therapy, a lot of early intervention, a lot of speech and that stuff. And now he's 22.
Wow. That's a lot of experience packed into 22 years. What was it like finding out about the diagnosis?
You know, that's a really interesting question, because for me, it was like I knew it was coming, but then as soon as we got the diagnosis, I kind of was like, actually, I'll take that other choice of semantic pragmatic disorder.
Okay,
I'll take, I want a different smorgasbord.
Yeah.
So I think I actually had maybe 1 day of denial, 2 or 3 days of like kind of mourning what I thought his life was going to be like, and then all the uncertainty that comes with it. And then I went right into, okay, time for action. So, you know, when people start a company or, you know, work for a company, you kind of want to know why you're there, what you're doing there. And so for us, it was me and my 3 co-founders. One's my sister, and one's my sister-in-law, and one is a friend who actually married a young uncle, so became my aunt.
Okay.
And we had this product idea because there's a product missing from the market. So we've been toying with this idea. We're all young moms. We were losing things. Our kids were getting dropped off at daycare or going to play groups. And we were using permanent marker, which isn't very permanent, and masking tape.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, there's got to be something out there for us. And there wasn't. So that was the first thing. So we were already talking about this label idea. And then when my son got diagnosed, I knew that the traditional workforce wasn't going to suit me any longer. I knew I really wanted to set up a great program for him. I needed to be able to advocate for him. And so that's when I went to the girls and I'm like, hey, our label idea, what do you guys think? Do you want to go for it? And everybody was on board, and we never looked back.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's great. So when we talk about kids with autism in our environment, it's a different kind of conversation, but the root is still the same. So we have a special program for kids with autism. It's not labels, but it's information on the back of the ID. And the most important thing when first responders actually talk to us is, what are the triggers? Because so often people on the spectrum have different kinds of triggers. So, and oftentimes it's police who actually get involved. And it's one of those scary kinds of things for parents or families when police get involved, because there's nothing that the child is doing or the individual is doing that's wrong.
Right.
It's just how they behave or react or respond.
Sure.
So we have in our database, up on the back of the ID, and it's a special colored ID as well, blue and red. So police and other first responders are taught that to look when they see that, they know they're dealing with somebody with autism.
Brilliant.
Which has been very, very helpful, and we continue to train all the time. But in behind that, they also know, okay, now I'm going to go check the record and see, do they have specific triggers? What is it? Do they like a certain food?
Right.
Are they afraid of lights and sirens?
Right. Or is there sensitivity or
all kinds of things?
Yeah.
So our whole goal is to make sure that the child actually gets returned home safely with as little disruption, and that the parents are notified, or the next of kin are notified, or whoever it is, the guardian is notified, so that the situation doesn't get long and drawn out.
Well, and they can escalate. They can escalate quickly. I know a lot of parents who are working with local police departments to make sure that they can almost register their child there so that the police know as well. As soon as they arrive, they're like, oh, wait, we got this young adult registered with us. We know some of the triggers, and it's about identifying so that things don't escalate.
Yeah, and you're talking about a program that actually we work with as well. They're called Vulnerable Persons Registries, and in many cases we actually have taken on police vulnerable persons registries because they don't have often the expertise and the clinical knowledge to be able to help support families who have the individuals on the spectrum. So we've taken over probably about 10 to 15 different different registries in our years, and we continue to work with police services to say, hey, we've got this. We've been doing this for 60 years. Right. You don't worry about what you need to worry about. We'll give you the information and we'll pass it along. But it's that partnership that really works to make sure that people on the spectrum are well supported, well managed, taken care of, and that they can live independent lives.
And that's, it's that information sharing and the advocacy that goes along that is so empowering for these young adults and these kids. Mm-hmm. And I know at Mabel's Labels, the information being shared is so important, especially if your child's going off to daycare. There might be a new daycare worker, or if they're going off to school, there could be a supply teacher who might not know mm-hmm. your child's differences. So I know with Mabel's Labels, we have labels specifically that will say, hey, this is my name. This is, I have autism, or I'm nonverbal, or whatever the parent chooses, mm-hmm. or how they, their child identifies, the parents can put that information. And then they just have that peace of mind that, okay, everyone who comes in contact with my child knows a little bit about them.
Yep.
And it'll be more effective. And, we don't want to trigger behaviors because that's very distressful for kids.
Yeah.
And that, that can really upset the school day. It can upset, anything, work day, whatever. So, mm-hmm. If we can get in front of that and share this information with people, then all the better for our kids.
Absolutely. And we're there when that doesn't always happen. So we're there to support in the emergency and the crisis situation when things do start to escalate, because it happens. Yeah. And it's just another way of being able to support a child and a family when they're dealing with issues that aren't often understood by other people. And part of that is normalizing the conversation, normalizing the context for parents, and also providers of whether it's a daycare provider, whether it's teachers in the school system, or anybody else that your kid comes in contact with. So it's that whole importance of being able to surround them with all of the tools that they need, all the tools that you need as a parent, especially if they're little and mm-hmm. and the diagnosis is maybe fresh and new, because then you get that opportunity to have that peace of mind.
For sure. And I know for me as a young mom with my little guy, I am, advocacy was my number one job. And, I was so effective. And I think I got most things from the school. The school laughed. They were like, we kind of give you all your demands because we know you're going to be in our office every day if we don't, right? And I am happy to report, as Mabel's Labels has grown and we've brought out new products, especially dealing with different populations and supporting that. My son also has done, really well. Like he's 22 now. He's away at university and he's got his driver's license and friends, and
so
he's gone well.
That's a pretty typical life for a 22-year-old,
exactly.
Which is amazing. So
exactly.
it can happen, and it's when you surround them with things that people need. From a MedicAlert perspective, the whole process of being able to make sure that kids are safe mm-hmm. is really fundamentally part of our No Child Without program. No Child Without means literally that. No child without, whether they have an LD, like mm-hmm. my son does.
I've got one of those.
and you sort of manage and you work through, mm-hmm. But when they can self-advocate, it's better when they have the tools to be able to support that self-advocacy. In my son's case, he's hyper-focused, so he can get really down in the weeds of things and not necessarily see anything that's going on around him, and then he can get caught off guard. And then the whole process of what do I do? It's like literally stop and freeze. Then you don't need to do anything when you have products like Mabel's and MedicAlert to be able to support those kids. Yeah. And as a charity, that's one of the things we rely on is partnerships like this.
Right.
It is really important for us to be working with the private sector. It's really important for us to work with our other charity partners.
Because we're all on the same team.
We are on the same team, rowing in the same direction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this has been really fun talking to you about this. I'm looking so forward to continuing our work together.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Partnership made in heaven.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Leslie.
Okay, take care.